The other day, Ilhan Omar posted a tweet praising Minnesota's free school lunch program, a universal free school lunch program, meaning that every child who attends a public school can receive a free lunch no matter how much money their parents make. I saw that tweet and I checked the responses, and it is filled with hundreds of people arguing and saying, this isn't a good thing, sweetie. This is actually a bad thing. Maybe no one told you this, but nothing is really free. How are we gonna pay for this? And my mind was blown. So I made a post about this on TikTok, and the same thing happened. And I will be fair, most people, I'd say 80% of the people who respond, are like, yeah. And even a lot of conservatives I know say, yeah, that does kind of make sense. But there is a healthy minority of people in the country who will see
Healthy
something like
minority.
this and just get
Mm,
enraged. Like the idea that taxpayer funds are being used to feed children is not only controversial to them, but repugnant. Just something that we
yeah.
should not stand
Yeah.
for. Like, have you seen shit like this? And I bring this up for Ate because he's from Minnesota. Like, have you seen this come up with people hearing about this program and people blowing their stack over this?
Dude, absolutely. I just want to point out, not only am I from Minnesota, but I'm in her district. Like
Oh, cool.
I
Oh,
live in
cool.
Minneapolis, and where I live in Minneapolis is like a really heavily Somali area in South Minneapolis. That's her district. A lot of this is really personal to me. But yeah, what I like to do because because she's like one of our own is like anytime I see her tweet something like I'll just like scroll through the replies and see what. So I see that all the time. I have a good laugh just seeing the types of shit they say to her about whatever policy she's supporting. If Ilhan Omar was pro-Israel, they would be pro-Palestine. I guess
They
that
would.
would be
They'd
the
find a
quickest
way.
way. They'd fucking find a way. And so I've seen that. I've seen that response a lot. And I find it so funny, but also just like a really interesting example of the type of like really awful place that we're in as far as political landscape goes. And I feel really bad at how well both parties have completely scrambled the fucking brains of the average American to where it is always a culture war. It is always a battle of Democrats versus Republicans and liberals versus conservatives. Like there are no neutral grounds in this in this conversation anymore. And so children are not off limits to this war either, so they're catching stray bullets, and it sucks, dude. It really fucking sucks. But I think it's really cool that it's happening in Minnesota because on some level it kind of is a critique against the idea that Democrats and Republicans are the exact same. I do think they
Yes.
are the same in a
Yes.
lot of ways that are important, but they're in a lot of ways that are important. They're very different. And Tim Waltz, Ilhan Omar, and them, they're showing that because Minnesota, not only with the free lunches, and that affects me too because I like lunches were expensive. Like I like lunch debt. Lunch debt is fucking real. I used to have lunch debt in school, and I was almost not allowed to graduate because of lunch debt. So like it's a big
I
fucking
didn't know
deal,
they
dude.
didn't let you graduate with a wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Some districts they won't let you walk. Like you'll
Insanity,
get your
man.
diploma, but you won't walk if you have lunch debt. So yeah, seeing that I thought that was really cool. But yeah, it's a good like look into how Democrats, at least on the state level and on like city level and stuff like that. At the very least, this is why it's so important to vote for Democratic policies on on the smaller level, on the state level, because like those are the things that'll actually change your fucking life, dude. Those are the important things to actually focus on. So I thought it was dope. But yeah, seeing it is crazy.
Yeah. So what you talked about getting involved in on the state level and the local level, this is one area where I always say you have got to tip your cap to the Republicans because they have put in the fucking work. They have. Like, I mean, starting back in the 60s after the civil rights movement and, the women's liberation and Roe v. Wade, Republican or conservatives lost their minds and they said, we have got to get to work, getting into city councils and school boards and mayor
Hmm.
elections, and
Yeah.
they spent
Yeah.
50 fucking years doing this. And They're reaping the rewards right now. It's
No.
crazy that, bizarre culture war shit like this gets any footing when you really look at the majority of the population. Like states are trying to, like, what state is it? Man, I want to say Tennessee, maybe Kentucky.
Mm,
They're trying to pass a law stating that if you're a trans person, you need to have
yeah.
you say your birth certificate like marked with something, a scarlet letter saying that, oh,
Oh,
actually they're a
geez.
trans person. Which, it's fun because, like, and birth certificates are changed all the time. Like when you get married and you change your
Yeah.
name, change
Or
birth certificate.
or
If you get
adopted.
adopted, you change your birth certificate. They change all the time. But for trans people, oh, we
Yeah.
gotta. And there was a funny video
Yeah.
I saw where them asking, it's like, okay, so what is the value of changing this? Like, what is this? What is problem is this trying to solve? And they're like, well, it just needs to be this. And no, but wait, what problem
What is it doing?
arises for not having this? And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
the person looking at it knows what your genitals are. Like that's insanity. Like that shit would have never, taken off if they hadn't had decades of,
Yeah.
staffing, local political offices and being very involved in voting for Republicans, even when they didn't agree with them all the way. And
Republicans are so organized. They are so fucking organized. It is incredibly frustrating. They are like infinitely more organized than Democrats could have ever been. I mean, and like you said, it was comes from decades of literally stuffing the fucking like the most minuscule, like, oh, the fucking student council, the fucking, like the teachers, the board of the teachers, board of teachers, like the count, the fucking homeowners association, like every organization from the smallest to the biggest, they're always locked in a ways that Democrats never talk about. Because then the only time Democrats like get like all like galvanized is every 4 years during a
yep,
presidential election. Like that's
yep.
the only time where they're speaking to all of us.
They
You know.
that is a problem because, like, you're right. Like Democrats will get all jazzed up for the presidential election, but you talk to them about, hey, who are you voting for? Your city comptroller. I don't give a fuck. I don't know. No one
Who
cares
the
about
fuck is
shit.
that?
Like, yeah, exactly. What does that even mean? So they don't care, but you have to care about that stuff if you want to succeed. And the Minnesota governor, I saw a video. I don't know his name, but I saw him
Tim
talk
Waltz.
about what?
Tim Waltz.
Tim Waltz. Okay. Oh, you missed it earlier. And so I saw him talk about
Mm,
Republicans, and it's something that I say all the time too, is that Republicans are weird. They're so weird. And I
so
was so
it's
glad that a
so
major political because Democrats dance around this all the time. Like how Biden,
Mhm.
like Trump gets on stage and he says, Democrats are pedophiles. They are, they are demon controlled monsters who are here to
Yeah.
imprison us all. And then Biden gets on stage and is like, we need to stop the extreme MAGA Republicans. Like he can't even just say Republicans. He has to like quantify it as like a certain subset of
Yeah.
Republicans. Like, no, like the Republican Party is
It's all of them.
batshit crazy. And I was so
It's
glad he
all of them.
said that because people care about real issues. And like the Republicans are up
Mhm.
there saying, hey, did you hear there's a man in a dress teaching it? It's like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah.
how does this affect
Yeah.
anyone's lives? And the culture
Yeah.
war, unfortunately, it is most political battles because a lot of Democrats aren't willing to take on Capitol, so they have to focus on culture war shit. And you mentioned how the Republicans are so organized. And I don't think it's necessarily because they are, better organizers than Democrats. It's just easier to
Mm.
organize Republicans because they're all the same person. Because when you're talking with, yeah, when you're talking
Yeah.
with people like liberals or leftists, you have, white liberals, you have white communists, you have black
That's
people,
true.
you have
Yeah,
immigrants,
that's
you
true.
have Arab people, Muslim people, queer people, like all it's
Yeah.
scattershot all
It's
over
a
the
lot of
place.
subgroups.
And yeah, and the interests don't always converge. So it's like herding cats,
Yeah.
getting people together. So there's a lot
Yeah.
more, weak spots in the armor when it comes to people on the
Mhm.
left. But on the right, it's white Christian conservatives. That's it. I mean, that's it. And so
Yeah,
you
that's
don't
it.
need to
Yeah.
put in a lot
And
of
they
work to keep everyone on the same page.
Yeah, I guess with Republicans, with conservatives, it's like they don't differ in ideology very much. They just differ like they're in how hard they go for those ideologies.
Yes.
Like the alt-right people have the same ideology as a fucking Matt Gaetz. oh, my Gates is all right, but like a Tucker Carlson, you know what I mean? Like same ideology. It's just the alt right neo Nazis are way more aggressive about it. They're
Yeah,
way, and so like it enables the Republicans to all work with each other because ultimately they want the same thing. It's just they're some of them are a little bit more aggressive about it. Some of them are a little bit more mask off about it. But at the end of the day, they all of their interests still like wild like overall align like 90% overlap like you said, there's just so much difference within leftism. Because, dude, the infighting among leftist spaces is actually why I'd like decide to just like stay away from leftist spaces as a whole because it's so fucking weird, dude. They
it's
get so
bad.
weird about semantics. They get weird about semantics and titles and names, tankies and communists and anarchists and fucking and socialists and social democrat. Like it gets weird, and they take that shit seriously. Unlike Republicans, who genuinely don't care. They don't
No,
care what you
no,
call yourself as long as you're
no.
conservative.
They yeah, you think like a religious Christian conservative gives a fuck about working with libertarian. They don't. They're like, okay, our interests converge enough that we can, work on this. But man, left, we're so bad. And another reason for this is that leftists are like almost necessarily more educated and academic. So like you
Right.
kind of like specialize in this one thing, and it's like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm a market socialist and you're a Trotskyist. I don't know if I can trust you. It's like, listen, you fucking morons.
Yeah.
Like, neither of you are going to see what you want done in your
Right.
lifetime or your
Like
kids'
ever.
lifetime. So just work together on all the
Right.
shit we disagree with, and we can get there. But like, and
Yeah.
also like, let's be real, leftism is it's a historical, we're historical losers. Like we get like incremental change that we want, and so we always lose. So we got to find a way to feel superior.
Yeah.
And what do we value more than anything? Being smarter than other people. It's like, oh, okay, so
Yeah.
if you think that, I think this, and
Yeah.
if you're not an anarcho syndicalist, I'm not gonna fuck with you.
Yeah, it kind of goes into the age old sort of like conversation of like theory versus praxis, and a lot of people like fucking focusing on theory more than praxis. Like we need real and this is what I liked about the Black Panther movement, and this is exactly why they don't teach this about the Black Panther movement is because they were socialists, but they were a lot more praxis than they were theory. Like these niggas weren't having
They did shit,
they weren't
yeah.
yeah, they weren't having debates at the town square about what the new world should look like. They fucking built it in their communities. You know, they did it. They did it. They didn't argue about what commerce is, whether currency is valuable. You know what I mean? Like these
Yeah.
arguments that a lot of privileged leftists are having now, like it mattered not to them. And I don't think enough leftists are doing actual real life work, or we're just sitting here talking about it.
Yeah, well, because doing this is easy. Just spouting
Yeah,
your mouth off is very easy, and
just
so we can
chatting.
all do that. But actually getting out and talking to people face to face and getting your hands dirty, well, that burns some calories. So you're gonna have a lot fewer people doing that. But you were so right about the Black Panthers and how incredibly effective and powerful they were, and how they're portrayed. Because I got to tell you, until I was an adult, I thought
Mm,
the Black Panthers were like the reverse of the Klan, where like, oh, they were just this violent group that went around, hunting. What I didn't know, I had to find this out
me too.
because they don't teach you that. They don't teach you that at
Me too.
all, and it's wild.
Mm. Yeah. It's crazy because even amongst, and this is why I don't like, I think very few people, even black people, don't understand the history of the Black Panther Party
No,
because
no.
even amongst black Americans who are like pro black and they're by all accounts they're progressive and they look up to the Black Panthers and Marcus Garvey and all those people, they themselves don't even understand how socialist the Black Panthers were. Like I live in Minneapolis, so I spend a lot of time talking to the old heads around around the city. A lot of these guys, grew up during the civil rights era. They got stories to tell, and they got, they knew a lot of people that knew the people that knew
Mhm.
the big names, but they themselves like have seemed to have forgotten, or at the very least refused to talk about the political leanings of the Black Panthers. I didn't even know that the Black Panthers had a relationship with with China, um, and that the Black Panthers also had a relationship with Russia, and that the Black Panthers were like explicitly socialist, and that like that was that a central part of their ideology. And when you see movies that depict that, they don't depict Black Panthers, they don't talk about that. Malcolm
Yeah.
X movie, they don't talk about it.
No.
Judas and the Black Messiah, they don't talk about it. It's been erased from Black American history that we had a history of being socialists. It's
It
really weird.
it is like you mentioned that the Black Panthers were, essentially Maoist. People are like, what the fuck are you talking about? And it's like it throws people. And then
Yeah.
it's just so fascinating reading about everything they did. And uh like the free lunch program, like we actually go right back to where we started with the free lunch program. They're feeding like 20,000 children. I mean, it is just,
Yeah.
it's insane the amount
Yeah.
of work they've done. And it is a crime that they are not viewed upon, with admiration by the majority of the population, which is the same thing that I've actually said about Ilhan Omar for a long time. Like in any sane country, in any sane world, Ilhan Omar
Yeah.
would be an American hero. Just hearing her
Mm.
story about being a refugee from war-torn Somalia, making it to the
Yeah.
United States and becoming elected to the Congress, that is
Yeah. They
an
would have made a movie about
aspiration.
her.
Say what?
They would have made a movie about her by now, you know?
Yes. Instead, she's one of the most vilified people on earth because she's a black
Mm.
Muslim. Like that's it. Like that's it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. It's once
Y-
again, we talked earlier with the Israel stuff, how devastating and sad this is, but it's true. Like that takes
Yeah.
precedence over everything. I can't trust this lady. She's in a hijab. Like that's what it comes down to.
You know what sucks for Ilhan Omar? A lot of
Hmm.
people don't. A lot of people from outside Minnesota don't know this about her. Is that she is not super popular within her own community either. The thing about Somalis in Minnesota and Minneapolis is they are a very, very conservative group, like wildly
That does
conservative.
not surprise me.
And
That does not surprise me.
no, I really most immigrants are, dude.
Yeah, I
Like
know,
most
right?
immigrants just are. Yeah, so it's like it's not surprising to anybody, but like she gets, hate from conservative Americans because she's Muslim and Somali and all this, but she gets hate from members of her own community a lot because she's a little too progressive.
Yeah.
She's a little too progressive in her views. She doesn't, she's okay. Like I think she was at a pride march and dude, the fucking like local controversy that started that she went to a pride march, bro, you cannot imagine. It was a big fucking deal. So she's definitely in a hard position to where like, she's sort of not really respected by a whole lot, like by her community or like the wider American audience. But America, well, like Minneapolis liberals, like a lot of they really like her. But it sucks. I couldn't imagine to be in that position to be rejected by your own community for like, I don't know, having progressive values. All right, go
Hey,
ahead.
folks, hope you enjoyed what you saw and heard. I'm sure you did. We are professionals after all. But feel free to, like, share, comment, subscribe to your friends, family, enemies. We don't even care. Give it to anyone you can. But we'll toss it over to Ate. Where can we find your stuff, my man?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. If you would like to see, I mostly specialize in talking about films and TV shows from, a progressive leftist lens, and just from like a highly media literacy analytical perspective. And if you'd like to see more of that, you can find me on TikTok. That's where I post the bulk of my videos. That's where I do the most of my work at Destructo Jugo, Jugo with two U's. And to follow me on YouTube at Destructo Jugo, where I will start posting video essays. And Destructo Jugo on Instagram as well. So thank you for anybody watching. This was great.
Fantastic, fantastic, man. If you guys trust me, and of course you do, you absolutely should trust Ate. He makes some amazing stuff, and I've been following for a long time, and I cannot recommend him enough. Thanks a lot, guys.